Someone out there couldn't move on after you. There's no point in denying it. You know you left something remarkable, something that doesn't fade away. This person thinks about you still. It's not about silly nostalgia or just any void. It's deeper, as if your absence created a hole impossible to fill. And you know what's strongest about all this? They want you back. They want you back. And no, it's not just a wish. This person is moving, thinking, planning. Every detail. It's not something done on impulse. It's something built, a second chance, an attempt to show you that nothing compares to what you had, that there's still space for you to, no matter how much time has passed. The question is, do you feel that too? Because like it or not, you are unforgettable. Now think carefully. Are you ready to hear what this person has to say? Are you ready to face the fact that to them you are still everything? Because their next step might surprise you. And then, what are you going to do with that? This person who still thinks about you is not just stuck in the past, they are living it now. Every detail you shared, every moment, still echoes in their life. It doesn't matter what happened between you or how it ended. What matters is that, for them, nothing has managed to fill the space you left. And believe me, they've tried. They've tried to move on, to find new stories, new faces, but in the end, they always return to the same point: you. This person is not watching you from afar doing nothing. It's not a stagnant feeling nor something she has left to chance. There is a pulsating energy, something that makes her believe it's worth insisting, even though you have already shown contrary signs. It's as if her heart is programmed to choose you, even though reason says otherwise. And that's where the issue lies. She is not waiting for a miracle. She is planning, calculating every move to bring you back. Not with empty words or promises that evaporate, but with actions that show how much you still mean. And do you know why this is so strong? Because it's not about need, nor about lack. It's about a connection that, for her, is impossible to ignore. Even with all the difficulties, even with all the possible rejections, she still believes it's worth trying, that it's worth fighting for something that somehow still feels alive for her. And the most impressive part? She is willing to transform herself. Not out of desperation, but because she believes that you are someone who deserves the best of her. Now I want you to think about this practically. Close your eyes just for a moment and imagine this person preparing to meet you again. Every word she rehearses, every step she adjusts. It is not just any approach. It's a genuine, almost painful effort to regain something she feels she should never have lost. This is real. It's not an exaggeration. It's not cheap romanticism. It's someone who still chooses you. And you know what else? This feeling, this desire is laden with fear. Fear that you might not be willing to make space. Fear that you have moved on in a way she couldn't. Fear that she might come to you and find closed doors, cold responses, a silence that cuts more than any words. But she will take the risk. She will take the risk because deep down, she feels that you are still there, that something in you still remembers what you both were, what you shared. Now, the decision is in your hands. You can choose to ignore it, pretend none of this matters. You can even try to convince yourself that it's over, that what was lived is in the past. But I must be honest with you. Someone who sees you this way, who is willing to do so much for you, doesn't come around every corner. This is not something you find all the time. And even if you say you don't feel anything anymore, that things have changed, there is still a part of you that knows how true it was. This person is willing to face everything to reach you, to swallow pride, to overcome fears, to face the consequences. This is not something small, it's a big move, a total surrender. And if you look closely, you might realize that this is not just about her. It's about the two of you, about what could still be, about what may have never been fully explored. But before anything else, I want you to ask yourself, how do you feel about this? Because if deep in your heart, something still vibrates for this person, maybe this is the moment to allow her to get closer. I'm not saying to accept just anything, nor to open up without reservations, but consider. Allow yourself to feel, even if just for a moment. Sometimes what seemed lost can still be found. Sometimes what seemed ended was only the beginning. And now the choice is yours. Are you going to ignore this attempt? Are you going to close your eyes to something that could be unique? Or are you at least going to listen to what she has to say? Because I assure you, What she feels for you is something rare, something that deserves attention, something that might, who knows, change everything. Don't be mistaken into thinking this is just about persistence or a desperate attempt to relive the past. It isn't. It's about something deeper. This person is moving because she believes there's something unfinished between you two. She feels that it wasn't just a story that passed by, it was something that changed the way she sees life, how she perceives what it's like to be with someone. You left such a strong impact that she can't ignore it. But let me be even more direct. She's not just waiting for things to fall from the sky. She's willing to show that she has changed, that she understands what went wrong, and that above all, she respects the space you've created. But at the same time, she knows she needs to try. Because for her, what you had can't just disappear, and the courage she is gathering to look for you, to open up her heart again, is one of the most human and real things you can imagine. Now, the main point, what are you going to do with this? It's easy to close off, to build a barrier, so these words don't touch you. But listen to me for a second, this connection, this type of feeling, is not something you find often. And if you're willing to listen, just listen, you might discover something that you didn't even know still existed inside of you. Because even if you think everything is settled, that you've already turned the page, there's a reason these words are reaching you now. She is not asking for a second chance out of whim or convenience. She is asking because she sees something in you that she hasn't found in anyone else, something she doesn't want to leave behind without a fight. And you need to decide, is it worth listening to her? Is it worth looking into her eyes and seeing the truth she is trying to convey? Or will you simply ignore it and move on as if nothing happened? And don't think this choice is easy, because it isn't. It involves vulnerability, it involves making room for something that may be uncertain, but it also involves recognizing that life doesn't always give us second chances. Sometimes they appear in unexpected ways, at moments we didn't plan for, but that can change everything. If you decide to listen, know that she is ready to be honest, to lay everything out on the table. It won't be about empty excuses or a request for you to simply forget the past. It will be about starting over, about building something different, something that both of you can look at and say, this is worth it. But for that to happen, you need to be willing, you need to be present. And if you decide that you don't want this, that's okay. But know that even so, she will have tried. She will have done what her heart asked, despite the risks, despite facing the fear that you might say no. That, in itself, already shows how important you are to her. Now, I want you to ask yourself something genuinely. How do you feel knowing this? Don't tell me you're indifferent, because I know you aren't. Even if it's just for a moment, something about this stirred you, and that's okay. You don't need to have all the answers now. You don't need to decide everything at once, but at least let yourself consider it. This person believes in you, believes in what you both could be, and that's rare. It's the kind of feeling that doesn't fade easily, that you don't find just anywhere. It's something that requires courage to feel, and even more, to show. And now, she is putting everything on the line for you. The question is, will you listen? Will you open that door, even if just a little, to see what can still be built? I know this isn't simple. I know that maybe you're thinking about everything that went wrong, about everything that has happened, but I also know that what you two had was strong, strong enough to still be here in some form, part of your story, even if you don't fully admit it. So, what do you want to do? This person is ready to take a step towards you. Not to force you into anything, but to show that she still believes in you both. The next step depends on you. I want you to look inside yourself now. Imagine the moment when this person, full of courage and vulnerability, appears before you. Not with hands full of impossible promises, but with the raw and simple truth of what she feels. No matter how much you want to run away from this situation, it will confront you with something that's hard to ignore. The intensity of someone who still believes in you, even knowing your flaws, your defects, your walls. And that, my friend, is rare. She knows she hurt you. She knows that at some point something broke between the two of you. But she also knows there's something there that was never completely lost. And because of that, she is willing to risk everything. This is not easy for her. Believe me, every step until now has been filled with fear, with uncertainties. But what she feels for you is greater than those doubts. She wants more than anything to show you that there is still something precious between you. And don't think she is clinging to an idea of perfection. No. She knows things won't be easy, that maybe you'll reject her, that maybe you're no longer in the same place. But even so, she is here, driven by something she can't control, because that's what you represent, something that doesn't fade, that can't be replaced. Now tell me, how do you feel knowing this? Don't try to hide from yourself, because deep down, something in you still resonates with this story, even if you're trying to move on, even if you've tried to put an end to it. Her attempt is a reminder of something you haven't been able to completely bury. And it's okay to admit that. You might be thinking, why now? Why did it take her so long to realize this? And I'm not going to give you a simple answer, because life doesn't work that way. Sometimes people need time. Time to understand, time to grow, time to miss something so deeply that they become capable of changing for it. That's what we're talking about here. Someone who looked inside and realized that, even with all the time and all the distance, it's still you. And this choice to expose herself to you is not about weakness. It's about courage. Courage to face what you will say, even if it hurts her. Courage to admit she was wrong, that maybe she lost the best thing that ever happened in her life. And courage to try, even without guarantees. This is more than many people would do. And maybe you have never seen this side of her before, but it's here now before you. I know you are afraid. Afraid to open that door and end up getting hurt again. Afraid that things won't be different, that she hasn't changed as much as she says. These fears are valid, they are real, but they are also barriers that may prevent you from seeing something true. Because as risky as it is, as much as it involves exposing yourself, this person believes that you still have a chance, and she is putting that in your hands. Now the question I ask is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to turn your back, pretend you didn't hear, or will you allow her to show with actions, with her heart, how much she is willing to fight for you? It doesn't have to be a definitive answer. It doesn't have to be a yes or no right now, but allow yourself at least to consider. Look at her, look inside yourself, and ask, what if? Because sometimes, what if can be the beginning of something that changes everything. She is willing to show you that. Are you willing to listen? Think for a moment. What does it mean to be unforgettable to someone? We are not talking about grand gestures, nor memories that fade with time. We are talking about something that remains, that lives in the other person in a way that she cannot ignore. This is what you represent to this person. It doesn't matter how many days have passed, how many times you've missed each other. You are still there in her mind and in her heart. And now she is willing to risk everything to tell you this, but before taking a step, she needs you to listen. For you to consider, if only for a moment, the possibility that something between you still makes sense. And you know what I'm talking about. Deep down, there is a part of you that recognizes this. I'm not saying it's easy, or that you should open up without thinking. What I'm saying is that this person believes in what you had, and more importantly, she believes in what you can still be. And let's be realistic here. No one exposes themselves like this without a reason. No one gets to the point of facing their own fears and insecurities without believing that it's worth it. She knows that she might be rejected. She knows that you might have moved on, that you might not feel the same, but still, she is willing to try. This is not about pride or insistence. It's about love. It's about the courage to fight for something that seems bigger than any difficulty. So I ask you, how do you feel knowing this? Because, like it or not, it stirs something inside. And it's okay to be stirred. It's normal. When someone touches our life in such a profound way, the impact never completely disappears. And maybe, just maybe, this is the moment to allow that person to come closer. Not with empty promises, but with something real. Because at the end of the day, what we all want is connection. It's to feel that we are important to someone. Now I need to be direct with you. This opportunity doesn't appear every day. Someone standing up with all that vulnerability, looking into your eyes and saying that they still believe in you too, that's rare. And I'm not here to pressure you into doing anything. But I am here to remind you that moments like this can change everything. One conversation can reopen doors that you thought were closed forever. If you feel even a little bit that it's worth listening, don't miss this chance. Life doesn't usually wait. Opportunities don't stay in the same place. waiting for us to decide the right moment. They come and we have to choose what to do with them. It might be scary, it might seem risky, but what would life be without these risks? What would we be without the courage to try? And now I want to hear from you. I want you to share with me. What would you do in this situation? Would you make space to listen? Would you give a second chance to someone who is willing to do anything to regain their place in your life? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Your opinion can not only help you clear your thoughts, but also inspire others who are facing the same dilemma. Oh, and if you've made it this far, you know how powerful this story is. So, be part of this journey with me. Leave a like on this video because it helps me continue bringing such real reflections. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's much more to come and I want you here with me, building this space where we can talk about what truly matters. Life is made of these choices, choices that can take us to places we never imagined. And today that choice is in your hands. Until the next video, and remember, you are unforgettable.